Alright guys, I am heading down the road to go to my next call, and it is in Wilmington, North Carolina. It's no cooling. From what I can gather from the location of it and the fact that the mother is going to pay via credit card, it must be a college student from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. So let's see what's going on, and may you all have pleasant dreams. Got an AR-32-1 from 2002. It's frozen. Do you want to build a snowman? Okay. Let's see what's going on. Our ice is all gone. Blower's still running. Good. Guys, looking at our pressures here, 195. Our target for 10 seer, this is 12, but it's not going to be too far off. Big difference anyway. 55, when we have 85 degree return air, is going to be way too low. Superheat's way too high. No subcooling, definitely low on charge. So we'll see what they want to do. It's CPLJ24, it's a 12 seer 2-ton Goodman from 2002. I have got about 2 pounds in there. I'll let it level out. 27 degrees of superheat now. Target's right below 20, so we're getting pretty close. We'll let it run for a minute. Not a whole lot of subcooling. It's probably due to the fact we have an AR-32 air handler up there, and most likely with the original piston in it, and not with the proper piston for this unit. Hey, but that's all right. Same old, same old. A little bit below 2 tons, even though we're a 2-ton machine. Got a 14.4 split. Split ought to be probably a little bit larger than that, but we'll see what's going on here in a second once we let it run. Guys, I got it about where I'm going to leave it. 80, 221, only 1.5 degrees of subcooling, 2 degrees of subcooling. See our target head pressure temperature, or pressure, is a little bit higher than that. One of the reasons is it does 10 seer on that estimation. We have 14.7 target superheat. Our superheat's almost dead on. If we took it down, try to get a little bit closer, that'll end up bottoming out because of the piston size, and this number will still be too small, so I might as well keep a little bit of superheat on it, so we're not just flooding it back, trying to get a little bit of subcooling. So, because we'll get subcooling out of the unit, but the evaporator, you know, will be kind of flooded by the time you get enough in there to where you normally see it, like 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees. So we're gonna leave it like that. This will keep bouncing around. Looks like it's going up a little bit now, but I like it right there. That's about as good as you can do on these sort of systems. You see how low the subcooling gets, but obviously it's a leaker too, so you figure out where it's leaking from. I am getting the leak detector ready. It's warming up. I'm gonna open up this door, see if we have a leaky evaporator. We're gonna be sneakers. Oh no. I hear you, you rascal. I hear you. He's a leaker. These things are real bad leakers a lot of the time. See, she rings off back in the back. Not really. Yep, she's leaking back there on those U-bends. I'm heading home now. Got done charging that unit up. Evaporator is a leaker, pretty common, A32. I think I've actually changed 1 or 2 of those this year, the same model. I know I can remember doing one Goodman, and I know there was at least one more, but I can't remember where it was. So this one made the 3rd one of the same model unit. And they get to this lifespan of around 10, 12, 13, 14 years, and they start leaking. A lot of them leaked earlier than that. But it's pretty common, you know. Not a screamer like some of the other ones, but still it was leaking. So the lady paid up, but, you know, she lives in a little town called Clinton, with about an hour north of Wilmington, which actually isn't too awful far from my house, because I'm about half an hour north of Wilmington. So she paid on over the phone with a credit card, which is becoming more and more common. You know, I use Square. I was using Square, or like a program that goes with Square to count your inventory, but I kind of stopped using that because the guys were talking about, hey, they just throw the tags of the, like if they get a capacitor they rip the top off of it and put it into like a box or a bag, and that's how they keep track of their inventory. And because shop inventory was $30 a month, I said, well, some things are hard to keep track of, so I'm just going to do the thing with the tags. I like that. I ripped my Sure Switch tag off, but no one in town has one. United Refrigeration, I was in there earlier, and they're a pretty good bunch of guys. I bought some Arco Air products from them, and some of their R series, which is sold under the name Maratherm, which is kind of like a pain unit. Just like ICP, but just a little bit cheaper, more cheaply made. And they told me that the guy walks up to me and says, is there anything we could stock for you? And I was sitting there thinking, man, I'm a one-man company. I said, aren't you looking for the big company? You're not talking to me, are you? You're not talking to a one-man company. He said, no, I want to stock whatever you need. I said, why don't you get some Sure Switches? And the guy looked at me and goes, a what? I said, a Sure Switch. Electronic contactor. The other guy knew what it was. He's like, oh yeah, the White Rogers thingy. I'm like, yeah. Well, it's Friday morning. Friday morning, the kids are dropped off at school. I did a whole bunch of website stuff as far as the new blog comes out every morning, so I try to put it on the different Facebook groups, so I did that. Now I'm doing something much more dramatic, washing the dishes. Leaving a few minutes to go change out a compressor in Leland, and then I have to check out some ductwork that got some water in it from the hurricane that came through last week. It should be a busy day. I'm trying to make it back in time so I can pick up my kids at 3 o'clock at their school, and then all three of them have soccer practice tonight. Two of them, of course, the twins are on the same team, and then my oldest son is on a team coached by my brother, and luckily for me they're all at the same park, or else it'd be very difficult. But then now it'll be all the HVAC for this week, unless I count figuring out a job tomorrow I'm going to work on down at Wrightsville Beach. So our unit for today, our scroll we're going to put in there and replace that reciprocator. Comes with all these great items in the OEM pack. I'm going to look for the acid test kit and check and see how much acid we have in this system. We get a capacitor strap, 3 capacitors, a contactor, and an acid test kit, some fittings. They're actually a pretty good little set. I like them. As you can see, it did turn a little red, so it does have some acid in the system. We're replacing the compressor, which will take care of most of the oil sitting in the system, and I'm also going to install one of these dryers for system cleanup. We'll probably have to replace it a few times. Went ahead and did our compressor wiring. We have 3 wires there as well. Common, black. We have run, lighter color gray. We have start, the darker color gray going to the capacitor. I'll probably leave this hard start in there. Probably don't need it, so I'll think about that a little bit. We technically don't need it because of the scroll, but we'll see. There's wires in there. We have a stray right there. Had to redo the whip. Alright guys, our old compressor is gone. I'm going to clean the base pan up and I'm going to set the new scroll in there. I think I can find a good angle for it. Might even braze a pipe on before I get started. Guys, I have the compressor fitted up. I have the discharge line turned and bent around to where the old muffler is over there. The 3/4 line kind of went in at a good angle after I turned the compressor facing backwards. And the plug is plenty long enough to wrap around the back side. Go over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and braise this up, flow a little bit of nitrogen, then I can switch to the dryer on the outside. Guys, I got a reversible spoiling catch-all dryer. This one's built for cleaning up systems that have had issues. So what I'll do is I'll leave this thing in there and let the system run for a few weeks, come back and check it, and see if we need to switch this dryer out again, which we probably will. But give it at least a week. Knowing me, I'll probably be held away for a few weeks before I'm able to get back and check it, swap it out again. Alright guys, I got my super dryer in there, contactor, all that new jazz. Vacuum's pulling down my core mover through a rod, so to speak, so I'm not using it right now, for better or for worse. Reran the whip because the old one was kind of dangling right there. It looked like hell. Now this one can dangle like there, but at least looks clean and shiny. I haven't tied it back in over there yet. I'll do that in just a minute before I start it up. Next step will be putting refrigerant in, which will be 407C, as you can see, and then we'll get down to business of charging it up. We got 407C, 89.6 on the low side, 241 on the high side, just a hair below both targets. 14.2 on the split. We're still too hot inside to get a tonnage in BTU, but that should change here shortly. 5 on the subcooling, 8 on the superheat. So I don't know if I'll change that charge at all, because really we got a mismatched system. We're not quite to the factory charge, but you know what, on a lot of the mismatches, that's what happens. There is a TXV, but as this thing runs, I bet that subcooling comes up a little bit more when it gets cooler inside. But we'll see, we'll let it run for a little while. I got my compressor put in and finished up. End up adding just under 8 pounds of 407C. So everything was working out just fine. Did my manifold report so I can see what was happening with it whenever I go back. I use the geotagging feature as well. It's kind of nice. I went to a job that I had been to previously, and I was able just to pull up all the information because of where I was at. You just search it, and those units that are nearby appear. You just pick whichever one you're working on, so that was really nice. But I hadn't done that at this customer yet, so I went ahead and did that. And I told her that we're going to come back in a few weeks and check the level of acid in the system and change out a dryer again if we need to. And hopefully it's not too bad off. But I would suspect that we might need to change that dryer one more time. But we will wait and see how bad off it is. That's about all for this week too. I gotta take a look at a job, and that daycare I was talking about earlier in the video, where it was flooded, and I started thinking about it. I said the ductwork's flooded, the units were flooded too, so it'd be kind of interesting. Evidently they're working, or else they would have called me. So we shall see. I'm sure they look pretty awful when you take the control panels off to the. I bet they look pretty awful after being underwater for a little while. All rusted out and crap like that. So we shall see. I'll either take a look at that later today or more likely tomorrow morning.